intro
Ladies and
us.
gentlemen, welcome to episode 5. Episode 5.
Way overthinking it.
Overthinking it. I am Sean.
I'm Paul.
And here we are, another Thursday night. I think we're calling it bi-weekly now, not intentionally. I think we've just prophesied it into existence.
So not only did I forget
All right.
last week was Thursday, but I also got a cold, which ended up lasting about 5 days. So I'm finally at the end of it, but it worked out better. I would have
Last
been.
week was Thursday. What kind of cold is that?
Well, so my wife was out of town, took all 4 of the older kids. I have 6 kids for those who
wow.
want to know how crazy my life is. She took all the older kids to North Carolina to visit her family, and I was left with the 20-month-old and the 3-year-old. And so huddled in this house together while it's rainy during the week, of course. The week I'm watching the little ones, no outside
Right.
time.
Yeah.
I basically just lost all track of time just surviving.
Swimming in the petri dish of childhood snot and whatnot.
I have a new respect for single parents. I'll tell you that. It was rough. It was
Wow.
rough.
Yeah.
But we made it.
I only have one kid, but she's the equivalency, I've said, of 3. People with 3 kids disagree with me, but I'm like, you haven't been with her for an extended period of time. That girl's fire.
That's awesome.
Fire.
I love it.
Well,
That's
Paulie,
great.
how you doing, buddy? Other than, so you're recovered.
Yes.
You went to a conference or something?
Yeah, so our church is doing this really cool conference this weekend. They call it the Throne Room Conference. And what it is, it's a worship-based conference. So there's no headline speaker.
Yeah.
And the entire conference is built upon just like extensive, deep worship and just little breaks here and there for 2 minutes. Somebody talks here, 5 minutes, somebody talks there. But really, it's all built around worship and encounters. And it's a weekend of it. And
That's awesome.
it was really fire tonight. I really enjoyed it. So
super
just
good.
day one and yeah. I'm
for all of
excited
our
about it.
atheist listeners, he just went to a concert while you were singing some songs.
Basically.
To the walls.
Yep.
It was
Basically.
good.
It was a really good concert.
I don't know, because maybe some of them might secretly listen to the podcast. I made some people I made some people upset this weekend, which I try not to do anymore. I try to not do that.
Yeah.
I don't like to upset people.
Sometimes just having an opinion, though, is going to lead to that no matter what.
And I thought, you know what it was where I failed is this particular opinion. I was somewhere in my head, I thought everyone in the room shared said opinion. and I was wrong.
That's always the
was
best.
I wrong. Yeah, no, because I was saying something. I was like, man, I said something to the effect of, man, if I hear someone, and some of you might share this opinion as well. And so I'm about to trigger you. Because what I've noticed is the statement is not just it's not just upsetting or even mildly disconcerting. It's triggering. So
I can't wait to hear this.
Triggered some pastors. In a room full of pastors.
Those are the
I triggered
best.
a couple of pastors. Yeah. I made the statement. I was not a huge fan of the phrase, I am a sinner saved by grace. I think it is theologically inaccurate.
Incorrect. I would agree with
not
that,
biblical.
actually. Yeah.
And so does, wait for it.
Goodness.
So does Scripture.
Yes.
Also agrees with that, to where I was like, but I found that the room that I was in was not the room to try and debate this. So
But
I
it's
didn't
not
want to debate
trusty.
it.
It's not trendy in the Western church.
No, it's not. Being sinners and being awful is very important, as Martin Luther said. We are snow-covered dung, which is very helpful
That's
if you need
delightful.
to fill the altars or things like.
And
Anyway, I was saying as well. Is there anywhere I do see where Paul calls us saints? I don't see where we are referred to as sinners, and that
It all comes
that
from
is our
one
new
verse.
Identity.
It comes from that one verse where Paul calls himself a sinner.
Right. Which even contextually, he's not speaking of
exactly.
the moment. It's
Yep.
so it's like context is huge.
Yep.
But we forget everywhere where we are to put on the new nature. We are a new creation.
Yeah.
We have been redeemed. Our sanctification is in Him. It's no longer I who live in Christ. So all the I's and what I'm. Anyway, so I didn't want to say all that, and then I even took it a step farther in the parking lot follow-up conversation.
Oh, I love it.
Where that kind of went on to, Actually, no, it was the phone call following the follow-up conversation. Because again, I didn't want to make anybody mad. You want to hold on to that? It's great. Go for it. But I said, and Jesus mentioned to the woman caught in adultery to go and sin no more. How does that work exactly?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, was he just punking her? And I left it at that. So I'm not, and I know they're like Todd White, and whatnot. People are like, it's possible to not sin. I'm not saying yes or no on that. I'm not there. I don't know what to think about that. But I realized so that's what I did this week is I triggered unintentionally. I triggered pastors, and but I had good follow up conversations with them, and we kind of agreed to disagree.
Yeah.
And one of them actually said something to me to the effect of, we actually sing a song that says I'm a sinner saved by grace. And I'm like,
boy.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's settled.
Oh, it's like that song.
Like, we sing a song.
Yeah.
We sing songs that have terrible theology.
Oh man.
In them. So
remember, blessed be the name of the Lord, and the whole He gives and takes away. It says that over and over and over again. It's like that verse from Job, where right after God reproaches him for saying it.
Right. No, what was my favorite? One time I was standing in the back. I was in a church, and they were singing that song. You probably haven't heard it. It could be a Northwest thing. It says, "It's you are holy." Yep, everyone I can sing. A little bit. Is you are holy, great and mighty, the forever the stars, I think, declare who you are. Anyway, I'm so unworthy, but still you love
I know
me.
that song. Yep.
And as I was singing it, full throated, which just meant I wasn't paying attention.
Sure.
Singing it, all of a sudden I hear Holy Spirit just like, so who told you that?
Wow.
And I was like, what? And he's
I
like,
used to sing that song.
What would your daughter do? What would you say if your daughter was standing in front of you, like, pick me up, Dad? I'm so unworthy, but still you love me.
Yeah.
I'd be looking for the person who told you to do that.
Oh, yeah, for
right?
sure.
So I literally could hear Holy Spirit, as I was telling this guy in the parking lot.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, if you believe that, I am now looking for the person who told you.
Oh, man.
So we have some theologically challenging songs, and I guess my conclusion would be that just because it's in a worship song does not make it theologically accurate.
Yeah, that's a given.
I think can we agree on that? I mean,
yeah. Well,
no, I know you do. I'm just saying, could we somehow, just because it's in a worship song and somebody wrote it, and just because it was sung in church, does it make it theologically?
It's really funny about that.
Doctrinally correct.
I feel like there's a lot of denominations and people, pastoral leaders, who have no problem going after, say, like any worship that came out in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But if it's like 1960 previous, it's perfect. It's like anything that was like of that time. It's like at some point, like apparently humanity, was first of all, apparently the apex of civilization was the 1950s, according to these people.
Correct.
Usually, and then the apex of worship was the 1850s. And
right.
It's like.
And the overt destruction of worship was the Vineyard movement in the 80s and 90s, and so that's what it was.
Yep.
Too much intimacy, and then the climax was the sloppy wet kiss, and that was it.
Yeah,
it was over.
A big one.
I heard more churches reword that song when I travel.
What did you hear?
They do Unforeseen Kiss.
Oh, I've heard that one. Yeah,
they do. Acceptable pat on the back. I don't know, but that's my daughter and I. Actually, my daughter and I, because we visit churches. My daughter and I were sitting at this church and we're listening to this song. And actually, I had led worship at this church as a guest worship leader, and we actually sang that song. And we sang Sloppy Wet. I refuse to change it. I won't change it. Yeah. So we visited them sometime later, and my daughter and I were sitting there. We're like, "Oh, that's awesome! They're singing the song." And then and they sang, same church, sang "Unforeseen Kiss."
Now, isn't that in the David Crowder version? He says "Unforeseen Kiss."
No,
he doesn't. He says "Sloppy Wet Kiss."
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Because I've seen
Mark McMillan as Sloppy Wet. David Crowder, Sloppy Wet.
Okay.
No. No, it's Calvinist. Change it. Just kidding.
And
All you
the
Calvinists
people
on
who
this
don't think they're Calvinists, but really are, once you actually
Right,
get
or-
down to their belief
yeah.
systems.
thing. Yeah, no, it's got a penal substitution. Man, how did we get there tonight?
I don't
That's
know.
so good.
You were reminding
Right.
me of a one time when I really stirred
I
a
know.
controversy in our church when I talked about how we're born good and not evil. I don't believe in the
Oh.
doctrine of original sin, at least
Sure.
in that context.
Right.
And I don't believe we actually inherit sin in our DNA.
Right.
I do believe we
Right.
all sin eventually,
yes, but-
and we
right.
all are in need of a savior. I do believe that.
Right.
So before you guys really think I'm a heretic.
Right.
But I don't believe we're born evil, so I don't believe we need
Right.
to create a doctrine about how children are, until they're 5 years old, somehow in this substitutionary grace period where,
Right.
since they can't make,
Right.
And so
Oh.
I said that once in a service, and I only said one part of that phrase, just hinting
Right.
at it, and it
Right.
created a firestorm.
right.
And our pastor, because I was the associate and youth pastor at the time,
Had to go get the extinguisher out, didn't
well,
he?
he not only extinguished it, he came to me and was like, "Don't worry, I explained what you really meant." And I was like, "Well, I did really mean that." And he was like, "Wait, you think this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And so that was fun.
I think we're staring down the barrel of an episode here. We should
Oh,
do
yeah.
this. Things that we. No, it's funny how we do this. I mean, penal substitution. I actually I wrote a book. I'll include it in the link below. Actually, it's not true. It is on Amazon. You can still buy it on Amazon.
I wrote a book
But
too.
I like-
Maybe we should both just drop our
I-
books. In the links.
No, I 25% of it I don't even agree with anymore.
Oh, that's
So-
hilarious. How long ago did you write
So,
it?
6 years ago.
Oh,
7 years ago.
That's it. Already that
Yeah.
much has changed, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I wrote it like the first or second year of Bethel. I think it was in
Okay.
between my Bethel.
Well,
when I
no,
was at
no,
Bethel.
that was longer than that then, because we graduated
Oh,
Bethel
yeah, no, you're
second
right.
year 7 years ago.
So 7 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I between second year and third year, things changed significantly.
Oh,
and then, because it was such a transformation. First year was so huge for me.
Oh,
So,
first year and second year
I-
were life changing.
yeah. So I wrote a book. But anyway, part of the book I wrote, I dealt with my perspective of being a saint and not a sinner. But I didn't touch on penal substitution as much as I would. Penal substitutionary atonement is a highly, hotly debated and I think dangerous theology, in my
Yeah,
opinion. So
I would agree with you.
Because a lot of it just comes down to how we view God and how we see God. But I think we're staring down the. So I upset somebody about that. He actually read my book and kind of came at me, and then, or he actually came at me because he heard about it in the book. Then he read the book, and then he put a Facebook post up that actually he changed his mind
Wow,
after reading the book. I was like,
that's pretty
okay.
amazing.
And then, but then, ever since then, he's kind of been coming after me for other things, separation. It's like, all right, but separation. That conversation only lasted about 10 minutes.
It is.
Theology for separation is
Yeah.
not deep. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
deep. It's
No.
you can defuse that bomb real
Yeah.
quickly. It's
Yeah.
you have to hold on to separation as a theology. You have to really, really want it. But anyway,
Oh, yeah. It's kinda like-
so I think
yeah.
we're staring down the barrel of an episode here. One of
well,
these days.
I've
But
always told
today-
you there are people who want to hear us debate those things. I know it's not today, but there is
No,
a time
I know.
for it.
I'm not, and I don't believe in coming prepared. I say, just spit
Oh,
what
yeah.
you got in your
We
heart,
kinda
just fire it out. But
yeah.
but today we decided, everybody, so to our audience, so that you know,
Yep.
now that we've gotten into like a 20-minute dissertation on theological things we find weird. Today we're going to look at the bright side.
Yes.
We're going to still talk about the topics of today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, there's some things that we won't be able to look necessary. We won't be able to. I mean, the bright side. After 11 days of war, there's a ceasefire.
There's a ceasefire, which
There's a ceasefire.
Is good news, I think.
Don't know how long it'll last, but
I don't know how long it'll last, and I'm
the
also
bright side is there's a ceasefire.
yeah, I don't want war anywhere, and I'm a little torn on the fact that I do feel like I would like to know that they fully got rid of the weapons caches that were,
Sure.
being launched. But having said all that, peace is always a good thing. So overall,
Peace is always a good thing.
very good news. I just hope it's not a political ceasefire, but it's more of a, we really feel like we can make something of this.
I think it's. I don't think it is. I think it's.
Okay.
I think it is. No. Excuse me. I do believe it is.
Oh,
don't.
okay.
The tensions are so high right now.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
if we didn't refer to it, obviously we're talking about Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Israel and
you know.
Hamas, basically.
There's Hamas.
I say Hamas because anybody who
That's true.
reads,
That's
spends
really
2
good,
seconds actually reading
Yep.
the news, knows that
You are
Israelis are not going after any innocents. In fact, they warn them to clear out ahead of time.
Right.
And look, I know I'm not a Zionist. I'm not Israel's perfect. I think Israel's done some
Right.
horrible things to Palestinians.
Absolutely.
But in this particular context, I really, truly believe from everything I've read that it was specifically targeted just at Hamas stuff. And so
Right.
that's why the ceasefire to me it's good news because it's peace, but it's also like, I hope they took care of the problem is kind of my thinking.
The interest, the thing that I'm finding extremely interesting this time is the narrative, and I'm sure you've probably picked up on it
Sure.
on the inequity of responses. That's
Yeah.
it's so funny because as we learn in the media, as we've learned watching the media, you know, it really does seem like it's becoming more and more obvious that the daily talking points are just, you know, administered at the front door.
Oh, man.
And mainstream media, this is what you guys are talking about today. And so the inequity of response, the David and Goliath narrative has been spit out there multiple times. You know, Israel's over responding.
Yeah.
And really trying to kind of dispel you know, who started chucking rockets first.
Sure.
And so then it goes out of, you know, Ramadan, you know, Israelis were clearing people. So they're having the mainstream media is having a real difficult time pointing the finger at whoever.
Totally.
And the problem is because they're trying to address this from a 60-second clip narrative.
Yeah.
Instead
which
of
doesn't
recognizing
work.
we're talking about hundreds and thousands of years of history here.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to be solved that way.
Did you see the pictures of the rockets meeting the Iron Dome defense?
Oh, yeah.
Those are
There you
wild.
go.
Those are absolutely wild. But anyways, having said that, good news. Also,
so bright side, there is a
that's a bright side. Also, about 11 days ago, I think it's been that long now, the whole CDC announcement.
Yes.
No more masks.
Yes.
And I laugh because they said for the vaccinated, but I just laugh because nobody's checking. All these companies came out and were like, we're not going to require masks for vaccinated people anymore, but we're not going to check.
Well, it's interesting because we thought so many companies were kind of hostile.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And it felt like Costco was hostile.
Yeah.
It felt like Target was hostile.
Yeah.
Mostly because when non-mask people went in, it was like, look out, a bomber is here.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. All of these companies, when this happened, how quickly
I think they were all tired of it, especially Walmart dropped it. Actually, a ton have dropped it. My favorite though is Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's just was the first. They couldn't wait to announce it, and they didn't even say vaccinated. They were just like, no more mask mandate. Period. We're done. And I was like, that's awesome. I was like, make me like Trader Joe's even more.
The corner was the same. I don't even think the announcement was done, and they were peeling signs off of the door. Because I was listening to the announcement. Relatively, it's happening around the same time. I was getting gas, and I kind of looked and I went, well, that sign's irrelevant right now.
That's awesome.
And sure enough, my wife was like, yeah, they moved the sign. So they were really.
Here it's gotten to the point where the mask signs were still up before this announcement. But you could walk into most places and they might be like, would you like a mask? And you just be like, no, I'm good. And then you could just keep going. But today I walked into the post office for the first time with no mask, and it was beautiful. Walking into actually a government sanctioned kind of building felt amazing. I don't know if I was supposed to, but nobody said anything.
It's different here. There is still a lot of mask wearing.
Really? Well, no,
quite a bit.
I was the only one without a mask. Still.
Oh, okay.
In the post office, but it felt good that nobody said anything. I got a
So
couple
which
of
are you
stairs.
now? Are you which does that make you? Does that make you a science denier, or does that make you someone who's following the science?
I mean,
which one are you?
for the first time,
Which
I
one
feel like I'm on the CDC side on this. And
Right,
so I
right.
think I flipped and everybody else stayed on.
So now you,
So now I full on. I went from the denier
Right.
to the
Right.
full on. Now I feel like I'm the only one who listens.
I just want to buy a skywriter. I want to put a skywriter and just up in the sky I want to write the change happened based on what?
Yeah, there's no change.
Like what? What was it?
Well, did you see
what
Fauci
metric I mean, because
talking
Jay
to
Inslee
Rand
was
Paul?
literally getting ready to throw us backwards.
Oh,
I mean, he
man.
was like, right? Remember, because we talked about it on the show 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was getting ready to push us backwards.
Yeah.
Now, not only are we not going backwards, everyone got thrown forward
Oh.
into phase 3 and no masks. I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened? So
I think the
went and checked
CDC
the numbers.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
looked at the stats. Numbers is the same.
Wow.
Exactly the same as when he was going to throw us back. There's nothing changed.
Nothing
and
changed.
I'm like,
It's perception.
now people would say, well, you should be grateful. Well, no, I am grateful. I'm grateful that we're now listening to the science.
So
I just want to know what you were doing before.
I think 3 days ago, we in Texas had our first day without a single COVID death in like 12 months.
Right.
And we
Right.
were way ahead of the curve of no masks. Like it's
For
been
sure.
2.5 months with no mask mandate here. And
Yeah.
they just dipped. They plummeted after
Yeah.
we got rid of masks. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Good
don't know.
news.
Trust the science, I guess. Our
news.
statistics
There
science. What it cracks me up is I think the CDC, based on what I've been seeing from all the politicians and the media and everything, it seems like the CDC did this and totally blindsided everybody else because they
It
were
did
all
feel like there was some
scrambling.
confusion. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Right.
It was really
Well,
fun to
Fauci-
watch.
I think what did Fauci say? I think he said it, he only heard about it 2 hours ahead of time.
Yeah. And
Because
Fauci.
he was doing some early morning interviews that morning
Yep.
where he was like talking masks, and then he's like,
oh, man.
Well, I found out about it 2 hours later, and I didn't want to be confusing to anybody, especially myself. And so, no masks. All right, everybody, party.
Did you see he admitted yesterday or the day before that even once he was vaccinated, he was still wearing a mask just for show?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yes.
before he said it wasn't just for show, but now he admitted it was.
yeah, he didn't want it. He did. He's. I mean, there's I think a photo came out today. Now I shouldn't even talk about it because I don't know if it's real, but I think
Uh-oh.
it was the same outfit. But somebody snapped a shot of the Senate floor of all these Democrats talking to each other. Republicans too, but I'm just saying the Democrats are the ones that, because Nancy Pelosi is still very much about holding the
Oh, yeah.
the line for keeping masks on the Senate floor, which this is the argument that I don't understand, that as people are rolling their little dissertation off their mouth out of their mouth because the unknown non-vaxxers, if you're vaccinated, what do you care?
Yeah. Which
Which Pelosi's
makes
argument.
no
Pelosi's
sense.
like, that's what's called the Big Brother argument. Big
Yes.
Brother argument is the very same argument that I made, back in the first episode, where you have a room full of Big Brother contestants, and then someone loses, and they come out.
Yeah.
And they have to put a mask on when they've been quarantined.
Yeah.
And they have to put a mask on when they come out, sitting across from Julie Chen, who's not wearing a mask,
Yeah.
who hasn't been quarantined.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh,
doesn't-
none of it makes sense.
we all see this doesn't make any sense, right? So that moment when Nancy Pelosi is saying, well, we don't know what members of the Senate haven't been vaccinated.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and keep masks for everyone. And I'm thinking to myself, but you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
Do you hear
makes
yourself? And
no
I
sense.
realize there's just that. And again, another reason why I want to get a skywriter that says, "Do you hear yourself?" But good news, right? Good
It's great
that
news.
it
Well, and
seems
then
to be-
yesterday, or maybe it was today, the White House announced they're not doing any more social distancing or masks. So I wonder how now Pelosi's going to feel about that. Like,
she doesn't care.
this is getting. So, it's so funny watching them all infight it. Like now, the mask is and many people admitted this. I saw multiple people saying like, "Well, I'm going to continue to wear my mask, so I'm not identified as a
Yes.
conservative." It's
Yes.
like,
the David Hogg tweet, to which I was
oh,
like, yes.
he's not the
Yeah,
only one though.
I wanted to tweet, but he was kind of the instigator of it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, so okay,
Yeah.
you should do that.
So this is what's going to happen. I can tell you because I've already lived it in Texas. In Texas, the mask mandate ended March 10th, and it took a while. So I would still go into the store then, and most stores would be like, sir, we still require a mask even though it hasn't ended. So I would be like, okay, well, give me a mask. And I just put it under my nose or something. But I'd wear it because, it's their business. And but it took a while, but then people kept pushing it. So I would just,
Right.
my whole deal was, I'm going to walk up without a mask. If they ask me to wear it, tell me I need to, I will. If they don't say
Right.
anything, I'll walk in. But so I kept doing that. Well, after about 10 days to 2 weeks, people stopped pushing it. It became, would you like a mask? Or
Right.
I had one person the other day, this is about 2 weeks ago, I was checking out and they were like, by the way, we do still require masks in our store. And I was like, okay. And I was not wearing a mask. I was like, you're checking me out. What do you want me to do? I was like, I'll see you
know.
later. And so I was like, okay. But I think that's the future I see for these states that are like your state. It's going to be still pretty strict at first, but they're going to get tired of all the people pushing the boundary. And eventually they're just going to wear down and stop pushing it at all.
Well, and I think they're really surprised by the amount of people. The Northwest, as we've been considered this, tried and true blue state. But I think, I think a couple of surprises that are coming up are vaccine hesitancies. That it's so
Interesting.
prevalent in the Northwest, which I don't think they're expecting. And then just the, here's where I stand, right? Like I've said, I go into the grocery store, I wear a mask because I don't want to be a part of people's anxiety. They have to be there, so I kind of do it to be, so I kind of dive into their space.
There you go.
And I'm okay with it. I don't do it for my daughter because they need to understand the science doesn't fit the narrative at all. But the challenge is now you have to, and it's really interesting because I'm kind of the flip side. I agree with Rachel Maddow, but for entirely different reasons. Rachel Maddow, when she kind of made her statement that went viral, was now because we got permission from the CDC and Dr. Fauci, and they have said that this is okay, I now have to rewire my mind, which I thought was really interesting, the phrasing that she used. I have to rewire my mind that when I see someone who's not wearing a mask, that they are not a science denier or a vax denier or an anti-vaxxer. And she kind of had like 4 or 5 different descriptions of basically her opinions of conservatives. But or a threat.
Yes.
She also said, or a threat. So she used this really colorful language to describe her current dilemma of now how she has to rewire her mind and recognize that there are people out there who are like that.
Yeah.
The flip side for me is, my challenge is when I see a kid who's 12 years old standing at a bus stop outdoors
wearing a mask
alone, wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I have to find grace to not just want to roll down the window and go home. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But I just as I'm driving by, I'm just like, bless him, bless him. Because I am just thinking to myself, are you kidding?
Yeah.
You are alone.
Yeah.
On a corner.
Yeah.
Waiting for a bus.
Yeah.
With a mask on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he's keeping his face warm, but it was 60 some odd degrees. So I don't know. So I
Probably
think
that poor kid's
this is-
mom was like, don't you dare take that mask off.
Don't take it off. But I think maybe it's protecting her from allergies. Who knows? But I'm just saying we have to find grace in this season. We have to find grace for those who are going to be critical that they feel like it's too soon.
Yeah.
And we have to find grace from our side for those that, because you don't know. I mean, you don't know if you're looking at somebody who's actually immunocompromised.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for them,
that's completely been
will be good, even
ruined.
though they should not be wearing a bandana. They should be wearing an N95.
Yeah.
If you're definitely in danger,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a Pokemon bandana is not your solution.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I also feel like there's another side of it where like people need to be led more than ever before. Like I feel like, so I've seen many stories, and I've seen it myself a couple times, where I've walked in without a mask and then it made other people feel safe to take off their mask. And like,
Yeah.
and so I feel like there's a balance there. It's like, because, you and I, so as center right political people, but also Jesus people, like we love Jesus. We're Christians, sorry if that, offends you, but we do believe that. We also don't believe in fear. And so I believe in leading without fear. And so that's why I'm very gentle. I never have fought anybody over it. I've never put up a fuss, but I also I walk around with a smile on my face, and not in a demeaning, sarcastic way, but it's like, look at me, I'm happy, I'm not scared, And so to me, it's like, I hear you. Like if it's brought up, if there's a fear brought up by somebody, then I have grace, and I'm very gentle with them and explain. And if they say they're immunocompromised, I might be like, okay, well, I'll cover my face when I walk by you, something like that. I'd be happy to do that for them. Yeah. But I also feel like there's power in being one of the first people to be maskless. I feel like that's giving other people permission who are already not wanting to do it, but are afraid of being judged or whatever. Which I think is actually the vast majority of people. I think it's really, but I think vast majority of people are in that middle. They're afraid of somebody else giving them a hard time for not wearing it. I think that's the majority of people.
My wife was standing in a Starbucks line, and the Starbucks, my wife, will wear a mask into the store.
Sure. My wife's the same. She's much nicer than I am.
And this was before D-Day, the dropping mask day. So
yeah.
She was standing at Starbucks, but the Starbucks was, right by the front door of the QFC that she was going into.
Yeah.
And so she didn't have her mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this lady, she's probably in her early 70s, sweet little old lady. And she's got her mask on, and she's looking at my wife. And it was funny because I walked by 2 times, and she was like 6 or 7 people back in the line watching my wife. And all of a sudden, it was like below her nose the next time I passed. And she's just staring. I mean, she's like laser focused on my wife and my daughter. I'm like, this is weird. This was just like a week and a half ago. Just,
okay.
Like I said, it was like the Sunday before the announcement.
Yeah.
And so then I walk by again, and it's like it's on her chin. To which I'm thinking, well, this is weird. Why do you even have it on anymore? She has beautiful red lipstick and whatever. And then I went to go get. My daughter and I were trying to. Oh, it was Mother's Day, or no, it wasn't Mother's Day, or maybe it was Mother's Day. We were trying to go find a flower for my mom. We come back, and now all of a sudden, the lady has her mask off entirely, and she's engaged in a conversation with my wife.
Oh wow!
And I'm just, and they're just talking, and they're talking like they're close talking. Mm-hmm. So we got in the car afterwards, and I was like, so what was that all about? And she basically came up to my wife and was just like, do you get any guff for not having a mask on? And Stacy's like, no, and I kind of pick my moments.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, I was so inspired by you because
wow,
I'm 72, I'm totally healthy, and I'm vaccinated. I have no idea why I'm wearing this mask anymore. And so she just took it off.
Wow.
Like she just took it off right there. So she Stacia liberated, somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone should do that, but I'm saying though, but people needed that. And I still think the peer pressure is still strong enough that people who don't want to wear masks still may because they don't want to feel
I do think that's a big part of it. I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm 6'2". I'm a big dude. I walk in, nobody's ever said anything to me in any kind of snarky way. Because
same thing too. Me too. Chubby bald guy.
Even though I've never punched anybody my whole life, People fear that because I'm big, and so I have that
6'2"
luxury.
bearded burly
I was
man.
I was born with height privilege. Height, And
Well,
so-
no, it's true, and they
Yeah.
and I've heard more ladies talk about getting yelled at than I've ever heard guys.
oh yeah, they always pick on the weak.
And I
by
and I
by
thought
perception
that's
weak. I don't mean
right,
the people
by
are weak.
perception weak. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and somebody said that this has actually taken away one of the rage cards from people.
Sure.
You know, because now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you know, people that just needed to get it out of their system and yell at somebody,
Yeah.
they had a reason to,
Yeah.
right? They're like, that person's not wearing a mask. I'm going to go tell them what I really think, you know,
Yeah.
and what they really think is they hate Donald Trump and they can't believe that you're white and all this other stuff. But they're going to go ahead and focus
Yeah.
all on a mask. And
They
give
had
you your-
something
and
in
now-
their pocket.
Right. They had something in their pocket, and now literally they've been
Gone.
pocketed. You know, it's gone.
It's beautiful.
And
Makes me very happy.
And I'm sure, good news.
Yeah. I think
So,
it's wonderful
but-
news. In
Yeah,
my
I think
personal
that's-
opinion,
So now they're going to have to deal with their issues.
yeah, my personal opinion, that one little announcement was the announcement that the pandemic's over. Because it took all.
Really?
Oh, I really feel this. I think now
Really?
there's going to be a
I don't
little.
know if I think that. So
Well, this is why I think this. So there's going to be a little power grabs here and there, but all the wind is out of the sails. All the wind of anybody who, because now say a governor wants to continue the mandate. I think Cuomo in New
Right.
York is like, well, we in New York have to evaluate this and see if it's scientific. Blah
Right.
blah blah. Now their people are completely like, what the heck are you doing? Like, we thought it was always based on Fauci and the CDC, even the people who are in line. Because I'm telling you right now, I truly believe there's really only 20% of people who actually like wearing the masks as a sign of whatever.
You don't think, though, that there are people just waiting, like the headlines have already been typed and they're just sitting in the back office waiting for the fall
Of,
and the winter?
oh,
Oh, yeah.
I
mean,
think,
you don't
see, here's the
you don't
things.
think the forthcoming fifth spike wave, that headline hasn't already been
I don't think it
written and it's
can.
coming?
I don't think it can, and this is why. So a lot of people don't know this. You know what started the decline of cases once Joe Biden came in? You know what happened the exact same day he was inaugurated? Something the WHO did. The WHO came out, and you can look this up. Anybody, you want to fact check me, Google it, or DuckDuckGo it. It's even better. But
You're more likely to get a result.
yes, a real result.
Yeah.
The day, it was either the day of or the day after. So January 20th,
you
21st.
can you can Google Pepsi and your first result is vaccines are great.
Exactly.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. I just had to get that.
Yeah, and get $100
that
if
joke
you
out.
get one.
Yeah.
And get a free
my
Pepsi.
gosh. What is this lotto thing?
Oh yeah, hold on, we'll get back to
Ellen-
that.
Oh my gosh! You
So-
shouldn't have gone there. Okay, I'm putting a pin on that one.
Yeah,
right
put a
there.
pin
Go
on
ahead.
it. Remember, good news.
Hamburgers and fries.
So the day
Okay.
the WHO came out and said, we found out there's too many false positives. And so there's a thing that these tests do. I might try to do the quick version of this because it's very scientific and I don't even know all the words. But basically
Spin
what
rate.
they did a spin rate of 40 cycles. At
Right.
40 cycles, scientifically speaking, you could basically find COVID in anybody who's got a common cold. You could find it because it's you're looking for an infinitesimally small
Right.
thing in there at 40. What every other virus is tested at is 30 cycles.
Right.
The
right.
WHO announced that day that they were going to recommend that all tests now were done at a 30 cycle rate. They've been doing them at 40.
Right.
And
Right.
at that exact day, the cases started plummeting. You can look at
Yeah.
the graphs.
Yeah.
And
Spin-gate. It was
that's
Spin-gate.
actually what
Yeah.
changed. And so
Right.
they've changed the testing. Now, say 30% of the people are vaccinated. And then they've already taken away the mask mandate. I guarantee you most people aren't going to. Pennsylvania's people just voted that their governor no longer has emergency powers. The people of Pennsylvania, that's a deep purple state, mostly
Yeah.
blue. They just voted by 54% to take away the emergency powers from the governor so they can never be locked down again. Iowa, the people just voted that they can never have another mask mandate ever again in their state. the people are getting all these votes.
Didn't Texas also? I mean, didn't Abbott do a basically schools are not allowed to?
He just did any government entity in the state is not allowed to enforce masks anymore, and
So including schools, then.
schools will no longer be able to enforce masks after this school year. So June 4th, the school year ends. So next year, no masks in schools.
So
And-
it's not.
and-
so it's not. It doesn't apply now.
No.
Okay.
And,
How's that going over?
And they'll get fined well, most of us love it. There's that 20% of people are outraged and think Texas is terrible. But
Right.
there's a $1,000 a day fine for any entity that keeps doing that. My hope is that he does what Florida did, and DeSantis in Florida banned any business or any institute to even ask you if you've been vaccinated. If they ask you that you've been vaccinated in Florida, any business, they get fined $5,000. And so,
Really?
yeah, I'm like, please bring that to Texas too. So that's all happening. And so my point is, because the CDC is now on the side of all this stuff that's already happening, the taking
Sure.
away of government powers, governor powers, emergency powers, the ending of all this other stuff, the falling of the case rates, the upping of vaccinations, I don't see how they could get the people to fall in line to believe it, be scared again and believe it, and even then do anything about it if they try.
Well, the only reason I say that is what I've kept. It was really interesting. I forget the gentleman who was in the interview, but now all of a sudden they're talking cyber pandemic, which is okay because I've got all my food. I'm fine. I'm a prepper. I admit it, but I'm a prepper mostly because I like the idea of being if we actually have to just eat macaroni and pancakes every single
Yeah.
day, I'm so great.
It's
And brownies. I think.
do you
there's
just tell
something else
Stacia every once in a, like every few
Babe.
months, be like, babe, I just heard on the news, we got to
Yeah.
stay in for a week.
We got to go break in.
Turn off the TV.
We should get them to sponsor our podcast. It's a Patriot something.
We should.
I'm going to call them and ask them to sponsor our podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not only I use it, but anyway. But
My Patriot
5 years
Supply.
shelf life,
Is that what it is? My Patriot
I
Supply?
think it's something like that. We got to talk to them. They sent me a survival light or a survival banner as well. No, but the thing is that I'm losing my train of thought, but I actually have it. That there, the idea that somebody was talking about a cyber pandemic, that they were, you kind of like whatever, because now we're not YouTube algorithms.
Yeah.
We're not launching conspiracy theories here.
No.
We are saying that the Wuhan lab is currently a topic of discussion. That's all I'm
yeah.
saying.
Watch the Rand Paul
Topic-
Fauci exchange.
yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yes, yes. It is a topic of discussion. I'm not saying it's, whatever. I'm just saying that there are people in the earth that benefit from these power grabs and benefit from these
Yeah.
draconian
Yeah.
measures. And so I just don't see them letting go of it lightly. I don't entirely know everything that's going on in India.
Yeah.
And if you look at the news, it's terrible.
Yeah, but you see, I just
But there
watched.
was a guy.
Yeah, did
there
you
was
see
a
that
guy
video?
No, I didn't see a video. There was a
Oh.
friend of mine who said, because I was having some real, I was like, this is weird,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was attributed to the narrative is they opened
Yeah.
up too soon. They stopped doing it. It's close quarters. They just did not
Yeah.
navigate this very well. And a friend of mine was like, Sean, it's baloney.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And he's like, no, if you and he had all these graphs, he's following the trends. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's true. I don't, because there is something definitely going on there.
There's a guy
but-
who did a video just the other day. He's in the streets of, I think it's Bangladesh. No, huge,
Okay.
massive city. And it's busy. And he's like, I want to tell you that everything here is fine. He's like, he's maskless. He's like showing his phone camera around. Everybody's maskless. He's like, life's going on as normal. There's nothing, like, there's no problems here. Yada, yada. And it's like, I was like, okay, and then the charts and everything back that up. What the press is saying is not backed up. I agree with you. They want to hold on with it. I think what happened with the CDC, I don't think they all got their ducks in a row and talked, because I think what happened when the CDC did that it literally ripped the rug out. And now even the Biden White House now is like, no White House, no social distancing. If they're not playing that game anymore, I think they're going to try something else next time. I don't think there's much left in this. I think they fired their shot.
You could have. I mean, it was very easy to make the case that you had pipeline hack, terrible job numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It was just not. I mean, there's the economy, GDP growth. There was a couple other narratives that came out. They were just bad.
Oh yeah,
bad optics. Mm-hmm. And then somebody said, "Well, how do we want to rubber stamp this week?
Mm-hmm.
How do we want to start this new week after a really, really, really bad week?
Yeah,
and let's just flip the narrative and make the White House, the CDC, the conquering hero, and we're gonna rip masks off and stuff like that.
Or release the UFOs.
Don't think anything. Yeah, I don't think anything went. Oh, right. Jeez Louise. I don't think anything went well for them.
No,
because the rollout of this didn't go well
Nothing.
too. And you can see, and we talked about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Incentivizing, threatening, and now all of a sudden we have states saying, come get the vaccine.
Yeah.
We will enroll you in $1 million lottery.
Yes, that's wild. 5 people.
$5 million lotteries
That's
with
crazy.
excess COVID money.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else that could go.
No.
There's no homeless crisis. There's
so crazy.
There's nowhere else. There's no veterans benefits. It can be filled. No. You're going to $1 million. I mean, how do we do this stuff in open
That's
daylight?
crazy.
At least not Gavin Newsom. Who's New York?
Oh, De Blasio. You get
Bill de Blasio.
Steak Shack fries.
Fries and a burger. There is nothing like incentivizing to someone to get a vaccine for a disease that affects people with diabetes and obesity than a hamburger and Shake Shack.
That's
fries.
so funny.
The narrative here is just, again, I want a skywriter. I want to ask my questions. How are you people not seeing this?
Yeah. But the good news is that people are still like, I won't say it's good news that they're not getting it, even though it's my personal opinion. I don't need it. I already had COVID. I survived it. I'm fine. I trust my immune system, but especially at my age, and I'm healthy. But my point is, people are making their own decisions. It doesn't seem like too many are just being pulled into that. Like, they announced that it was safe for 12 to 15-year-olds to get it, which is asinine. Like, no 12 to 15-year-old needs this. The issues with 12 to 15-year-olds with COVID, it's like 0.00001% of having serious issues. It's insane. But they announced that, and then barely anybody got it. And there's pictures of lines that are just dead. There's nobody in line to get it. So,
well, it's interesting.
That's good news.
$1 million lotto did jump it.
I bet that did. That's huge.
Now, I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to believe anymore when it comes to certain
that's true.
media outlets. But they said it was highly effective, and demand just went way, way up. But if that spike happens, because the people, so you attracted everybody who wanted.
But think that's Ohio.
What do you got to do next, though? What's your next?
Yeah, what's your next play?
Once that runs dry, what are you gonna?
Well, that's state 2. That's Ohio. So Ohio's got a massive population of people lower middle class to poverty level. Think of all those people who are just like, oh my gosh, we could win $1 million. Like, so that, I think that's a little bit. But I'm sorry, Steak Shack fries aren't going to get you there. I don't think even like the $100 is doing that much for that many people.
Yeah.
We're
not doing that here. We tried a Safeco Field Mariners section, and that didn't work either.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah. Well, no, remember we talked about that. It's like, hey, you're going to have your own special section at the Mariners games.
Yeah.
You're going to get a 20%
but everybody's like,
discount on,
do people still watch baseball? Does anybody watch baseball?
No. Well, and you got to remember, at the end of the day, a 20% discount on a Mariner dog is still $13.99. So I don't know.
When have the Mariners been good in recent years? I can't. I haven't watched baseball in so long.
No, they're decent this year.
Yeah, so are my Giants. I might actually watch some baseball this year. This is totally offhand, but baseball for me is my dad was a huge Giants fan, and so if they're in the playoffs, I watch every game, and if they
Sure.
suck, I don't watch anything that whole season. That's
You
pretty much how
are
it goes.
you're San Francisco Fairweather, which honestly
not for
most people are.
not for
Unlike
football
most
or
49er
basketball.
Fans.
Oh.
49er fans are mostly Fairweather.
You know me too well to know I'm a fair weather fan with that. You saw me
well,
crying
no, that's what I'm saying.
on the
I know.
floor of your
No,
house.
You weren't crying. You hit the top of my fan.
Oh,
I
well, that
was
was an
like,
excitement,
oh,
actually.
honey,
That was when I
he's
thought something.
pissed.
No, that was when I
No,
thought something
that
good
was at
happened.
the end, wasn't it?
No. I jumped
Oh,
when
yeah,
something
that's
good happened and hit my head on your fan. And
well,
no,
Jeez,
when Kaepernick threw right to Richard Sherman, I knew as soon as he threw it too. So I just kind of took the life out of me. I was like, and that's
So what other good news is out? So we
well,
covered
you can
Matt
see it
for
as good news. I personally see it as good news
Uh-oh.
because I don't really trust this man.
Here comes a disclaimer.
This is So here's my disclaimer. Some of you might think this is bad news. Some not. You in Seattle might really think this is bad news. But there's a man by the name of Schmil Schmates who
That's not real.
You don't think all this stuff coming out about him is real?
No, I don't think that name is real.
Oh, you're right. It's not. Mr. Bill Gates. I won't go.
Oh, Schmil Schmates.
Yeah.
Oh, Schmil Schmates.
There's a lot of
dang.
stuff going on with him,
Sorry,
and
my bad.
I
I would have gone with Grill Vates. Grill Vates.
if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have given you the standard placebo answer that I think Bill Gates is mostly a good person doing his money towards good things. After following Bill Gates for many years since then, I feel like he does things that are not necessarily good. I'll just leave it at that. You can do your own research on all this stuff. But I'm sure there's half the liberals think I'm like, if they're watching, they love me right now because they just hate him because he's rich. And that's fine.
Right.
But basically, there's all this expose stuff coming out on him, which I think is good news because even just in the broader sense, anytime somebody who's rich and powerful was corrupt is being exposed for it, I think that's good news, whether it's somebody I like or not. If they were doing bad things with bad people and we're getting away with it, I'm always think it's good news when it's exposed. So I think all this stuff with him and Mr. Epstein, which that's all I'll say about that. I won't even say the first name just in case it's like YouTube. Yeah.
Referee.
Stuff with that, and then
Epstein.
the affairs he had at Microsoft employees, all that. I think it's. I'm happy to see the man that not everybody, but a large population of people have been trusting for medical advice, despite the fact that he's not a doctor in any way, sense, or form, and despite the fact that
He's a love doctor.
he's invested in vaccines that make him a lot of money, even
Yes, indeed.
So the fact that he's finally got a chink in the armor that on a national level, I think is actually pretty good news.
Yeah, no, I mean, that wasn't necessarily good news I was looking for, but yes, I hear what you're saying. That could be an interesting. I'm not going to touch that. It just seems
That's
to be
okay.
a very.
I-
It's an interesting. Have you
I
ever
think
heard
the
Dave Chappelle's
No.
Juicy Smollett story?
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
Juicy Smollett. Juicy Smollett.
It's so funny.
That's what we're doing. So people know we're changing people's names.
Yeah.
We're changing people's names to protect the potentially
Yeah.
not.
What I'll say in that is I
Juicy
feel
Smollett.
like we're in a time where we've been exposed to realize that there's a whole lot of
Yeah.
shady things going on with the elites in our country
Sure.
than we ever really imagined, or very few
For sure.
people imagined, I think. And so I don't think it's good news on a personal level. Like because I never want to rejoice that somebody is,
Yeah.
corrupted. What I want to rejoice in and be excited about is that it's coming
The light's
out
coming on. Yeah.
a grander
The light's
scale. And when somebody as untouchable as Bill Gates is being exposed, to me, it just means that there's still going to be a domino effect of more and more of this coming out, which I think, even though it's bad for them, and I don't rejoice in anybody
Right.
getting in trouble,
Right.
but I do rejoice in justice for the people.
Yeah.
And when powerful people who are corrupt are being exposed, it's a good thing for the people because
Yeah.
now we can respond and make better decisions accordingly. So that's what I mean by good news.
Life is not without consequence. I mean, he is loved of the Lord.
Yes.
God loves him. Created him.
Exactly.
God believes the best for him. But it's like the bank robber. God loves the bank robber, but if you rob a bank, Jesus still loves you. He's just going to love you in jail now.
Especially if you keep robbing banks.
Yeah, if you keep robbing banks. So it's one of those things that it's interesting because we do see, and I think one of the I won't go too deep into this right now. This is probably for another time. But one of the things that I've found with the church, Christians, I should just say Christians. Christians, to use a pagan term, because that's where that term came from. But anyway, I just wanted to.
You
mess
mean
with
Jesus didn't call us Christians, Sean?
No, Jesus is not a Christian, and there are no Christians in heaven. Just so you guys know, it's not. You won't go to the pearly gates and be like, "Hey, man, I was a really good Christian." Because my guess is there, they'd be like, "So what?" I just wanted to see if I could get us to lose some listeners.
I think we lost 5.
But the challenge is, I think one of the great things about this whole thing is like, if you put a lot of your, the whole Lance Wallnau, Cyrus, Trump thing.
Yeah.
I think part of that, I think part of, if you look throughout the Old Testament, you have God wanting to be connected and intimately a part of people. And instead, people kept sending prophets up the mountain.
Yeah.
And people kept crying out for a king.
Yes.
And people, and when you couldn't see the king and you couldn't find the prophet, you built an idol, right? We did everything to try and put handles or our own box on a God that wants to be believed and believed and not necessarily physically seen in the way that we would like to physically see.
Sure.
We want him to sit in a chair right next to him. But, we have a God who's like, yeah, but will you believe me? Right? The reason I say that is because that if we can come to terms with this, and I know it's a journey for us to all come to terms with this, but somewhere Christians, followers of Jesus, need to stop looking for a savior.
Yes.
That we can wrap our hands around.
Yeah.
And I think this is our time. Like we have a moment right now.
100%.
Regardless of what you feel about Joe Biden right now.
Yeah.
This is your opportunity to do what you if you felt any conviction about how you handled Barack Obama.
Yeah.
At all, and thought, well, maybe I'll do it better next time. Okay, well, here's your chance.
Yeah.
Right? Here's your chance to pray. Here's your chance to bless. Even though you may not agree, you may not think it's valid.
Yeah.
You may not think it's legal. You might think what's going on in Arizona, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is where you are.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, and please let me caveat for a second. That doesn't mean don't get involved in politics. That doesn't mean campaign for somebody that you believe in. That does not mean that. You absolutely do those things. But
honor and agreement are not the same thing.
Right. Yes. But at some point, we as the church have to stop looking for a tangible savior and capitulating and also relegating our responsibility onto that person.
Yes.
Or that politic.
100%.
Or and I think this is our time. Like I think
I agree.
Freedom comes when we respond to this call.
I agree.
Right? Like I'm not a huge fan of altar calls, but I'm like, here is one.
Yep.
Right? Like when we respond to this,
they have
altar,
their place.
I think here's an altar call for the church that we come and drive into the ground our golden calves, our Donald Trumps, our whatever. That's not saying he isn't valuable to the system, of politics and whatever he brings.
Yeah, and that
but we have done. But we have turned. We have turned anything that is not our particular manifestation of salvation into an antichrist.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So so all of a sudden, mathematically, Joe Biden's name is Antichrist. You know what I'm saying?
They've been saying that since the 15th century, by the way,
Right,
people. If
right.
anybody thinks that, they thought
terrible
the
math,
15th
yeah.
century Pope was that, and it's
Yes.
continued. ever
3
since
letters,
then.
people. 4 letters.
4 letters.
Nero.
Oh, exactly.
Nero.
Yeah.
70 AD. Look it up.
Yeah.
You'll be okay.
Yeah. In fact, you'll be better.
You'll be better. You will be better. You will stop looking.
You'll
will
feel so much better.
I could destroy. We could. 4 small letters ruins all of Kirk Cameron's book sales in one fall swoop. But that's it. If we could find a place to stop doing that,
Yeah.
and owning it, and owning even our responsibility, and I'm talking to myself because, like I said,
Oh, totally.
Our last episode,
Yeah.
I was salty, and I'm like, okay, the only reason I'm being salty is because I'm angry about some of this.
Yeah.
and so
Totally.
and so I got to figure it out,
Yeah.
and because anger cannot occupy the space that
Yeah.
grace was meant to be, and
totally.
so I've got to, so we all have to do that. But I think
I love
what
it.
an impact on the world we would have if we could resolve that.
Yes. Well, I think what happened at some point is exactly what you were saying. We all forsook our individual responsibility to the society. It became my responsibility to me, to my family, which, look, those are not bad things. But in this society, the way it was designed by our founding fathers that we all love, except for the 5% of people who hate them. But everybody else in America, both sides of the aisle, have good things to say about the founding fathers. Like, we know what they did was genius. But what we lost along the way is that they never meant it to be just those in power taking responsibility for the nation. That they meant that every one of us carries a special responsibility. We all vote with knowing what we are voting for. And don't get me wrong, I'm not pretending it was perfect back then. There was always knuckleheads back then too. There's always been major issues. Yeah. But I'm talking about the intent of how it was built. The intent was that if I have a problem in my local area, I get involved. I get involved in my school board. I get involved with my whatever, my city commission, whatever. I take responsibility, and the system is designed so that anybody can do it. We can all step up and have a say. We have a voice. And we all gave that up. We got to the point where we just voted every 4 years. Those who are really involved voted every 2 years. Right. And then the small 3% of people actually got involved, where it never was meant to be that. What I'm seeing and talking about good news, I do think that has ended. I think I think, like him or hate him, the one thing that happened with Trump leaving office that was positive for the side of the people who do like him is that now a bunch of people are like, holy smokes, I have to do something now. Because the guy I thought was the savior or was going to fix everything, I really liked what he did while he was there, but now that he's gone, I have to do something. And
and there's an opportunity for people to do better.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I think there's an opportunity for people with great ideas.
Yeah.
With with a little bit of grit.
Yeah.
Which I would say Trump had a lot of grit.
Oh yeah.
But no Twitter account.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
People with grit, hard decision making, faculties in them to make the tough choices, and no Twitter account. It's like, that's actually one of the things I really am excited about the aliens for, is because if the aliens are listening, what I would really like you to do, because I can't get a Skywriter, but I've seen your technology, would you guys just do a big projection on the screen and say, hey, I'm reading all of your minds, and your fringe on both sides is way smaller than
Yeah.
than the media is telling you.
Yeah.
And we have come to destroy the media.
Yeah.
That's what I
That'd
would
be
love to see
amazing.
the aliens do. So see, now I'm capitulating to.
They're just a
aliens,
very
but,
loud fringe, very
yeah, no,
loud,
that-
small.
Both sides
groups.
are loud.
Oh
Both
yeah,
sides
for
are
sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
And
although the left
and
is
that's-
much louder now because they actually are championed by the controllers of the platforms.
Well, but it's amazing too how they have coalesced a group of people that. I mean, I'll say I'll give them. I guess if we're looking for credit where credit is due, they have managed to coalesce people that they disagree with, even to kind of join their ranks.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
not conservative or Republican, Christian, anything like that, but people that they have been staunchly opposed to or have
Yeah.
been infighting with over the last 2-3 decades. Now all of a sudden it's like like even today I saw there's been some acts of violence in New York of Palestinians protesters like starting to attack. It almost looks like BLM. They're standing outside restaurants and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is weird.
Oh, yeah.
So it seems like the riot umbrella has gotten.
Yeah, I would say the
larger.
far right, those people are loud, but they're easy to ignore because they don't have many
Yeah.
platforms. The
Right.
far left
That's true.
is loud and impossible to ignore unless you literally don't get on the internet or watch TV.
Well, it seems like the left gets a very loud megaphone through the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly.
But does
That's what I
not
mean.
get an alt media megaphone.
Yeah.
Where conservatives get this massive alt media megaphone.
Yeah.
Which is weird because alt media is kind of at the mercy of the mainstream platforms. Which is really, really weird. So
It
you're
is.
kind of safe if
Yeah.
you're progressive because
Yeah.
you can you're not going to get kicked off alt media.
Yeah.
And you can say a lot of things. I mean, Crowder proved that.
Oh, yeah.
Crowder
Totally.
proved things that were acceptable for kids
Yeah.
that are gross
Yeah.
and sexually explicit
Yeah.
and just I don't even have any words for how terrible it is, and acceptable for kids, not shut down in any way, shape, or form by YouTube, not even censored by YouTube.
Or Twitter's
And
got a
Steven
bad
Crowder's-
problem with that too.
Yeah, well, no, but Steven Crowder so much as sneezes on
Oh,
election
yeah.
night coverage,
It's
and they call
crazy.
it not suitable for children.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
you have
bad.
like porn on
Yeah.
YouTube that's acceptable for kids, and you're saying that Crowder's election coverage was not suitable for. So we're probably going to get kicked off YouTube for that, right?
That's
there.
all right. I don't think we're popular enough for them to care yet, but we might get there. I think they like
Give
the
'em time.
they like the we get big enough, and when we get big enough, we'll just be very left friendly. Okay, so just as we're finishing up here after our
difficulty
little
there. You were
glitch,
saying left friendly. You were saying
case-
left friendly.
Yeah, left friendly. So just to wrap this all up, though, with more good news, and also based on what we're talking about, what I'm seeing from a small standpoint, from local municipalities to state-run stuff, I'm seeing states and the people take more responsibility, not relying so much on the feds, because what's going on in the federal government is just a mess right now. Even if you are on the left side, only a very few percentage of people on that side even think everything's okay right now. There are issues going on, and a lot of people would say it was during the Trump administration too, and that's fine. If I definitely could hear that argument, but the point is this. People are taking responsibility. In Texas right now, we just did a slew of bills that, to me, are really encouraging. Like there's election integrity bills. There's some bills on other laws I really like. One in particular, and this is massive for somebody like me who's very pro-life, but we just literally banned abortion if there's a heartbeat. And so
Right.
now, which abortion's a big issue to me, you can only abort if the baby does not have a heartbeat, which is up to 6 weeks, basically. And
Right.
then, but on top of that, they put in the bill that if you even hear of an abortion provider cheating the system, you can sue them. You don't even have to be the person harmed by them. You can sue them. So they basically put this squeeze on anybody who would even try
Wow.
to skirt that system. And to me, that's fantastic. And so there's lots of good stuff happening in Texas right now. A lot of freedom bills. And to me, election integrity is a big deal, which it should be to all of us. And I'm seeing this across the nation. Election integrity bills. We talked about Iowa, the people saying no mask mandates ever. Pennsylvania, them revoking powers from the governor. I think that's happening in Michigan too. Many states passing a lot of legislation that's shoring things up for their elections, putting more checks and balances on the people in power. I'm seeing many school boards across the nation. The parents are finally showing up and actually being like, we don't want our kids taught this, and it's
Right.
making changes. To
Yeah.
me, that shows that the people are rising up and the people are finally saying, like, you know what? We're getting involved. We're no longer just going to pray to Jesus that our guy gets elected president. We are now
Right,
going
right,
to do
right.
stuff. And to me, like you said, that's the altar call. To me, that says that at least a significant enough amount of people, not everybody, but enough people to make the changes necessary are stepping up. And I think that might be the best news of all, politically speaking, right now.
Right. Well, and I think what we have to mix with that, and probably this is a good note to clean it up on, end it on, is just to say, the what we do is great. The why we do it is the kind of the heart of the matter, though. And so,
For sure.
yeah, we have to, we're not looking to take away someone's right and see them suffer. What we're looking to do is to create a culture that causes people to thrive and to know that they're loved and to know that they are, a created being by an author that loves them, and that has to be at the core. I think the vitriol and the vengeance and the aha, and this I've told a lot of people. I said the church's moment of "I told you so" has come and is coming, and the best thing we could do is not take it.
Yeah. I totally
the best
agree. That's
the
really
best
good.
the best thing we could do is, when given the opportunity to say it, not.
Yeah.
And choose relationship and choose, choose community, even though, we may find people, not necessarily agreeing with us, but that's not what we're not called in Scripture to love people who just agree with us, but we're to love and bless those who are not. So I think that is the best news of all. And as usual, that would be a great way to end it up. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen, episode 5, Way Overthinking It. I am
It's in
Sean.
the bag. I am Paul.
This was another good night, and we will hopefully see you next week. Although, we may not see you next week because I will be in Las Vegas. So we might. A guy who doesn't gamble or drink is going to Las Vegas. So that just means I'm probably going to get a tattoo. But until then, we'll either see you next week or we'll see you the week after.
We might stay bi-weekly at least one more time. And that's
at least one more time.
okay.
All right, take
We'll
care of
fix it at
yourselves,
some
everyone.
point. Hey guys, have a great weekend, and just remember, things in the kingdom are always getting better. So
Always.
have a good one.
Keep on getting better.